Welcome to the Double E Show. Bad strategy, horribly simulated. What's going on, everybody? Jibba73 back with the Double E Show. It's Lamplight City. Welcome back, everybody. When we left off last week, we had spoken with Mrs. Davis, and she had mentioned about the Spectral Society and her friend that she met there, Linda. We went to the Spectral Society over here and talked to the woman who runs it and asked about Linda, and she gave us a little bit of her backstory. Abusive husband who beat her and her son, comes home one day to find them both dead, possible murder-suicide, poison, whole 9 yards, and so she's been grieving ever since, and she's become very good friends with Mrs. Davis. Mrs. Davis has even gone as far as to invite her over to the Harris residence to see their baby. Now, I think what's going on here is she thinks that the baby is the reincarnation of her deceased child. We will find that out, I'm sure, soon enough. But we're going to go back and talk with Mrs. Davis and see what she has to say about her friendship with Linda, if there's anything more.
Hello again, Mr. Fordham. Did you hear? The Harrises got a note from the kidnapper.
I didn't hear. When was this?
Oh, not long ago. Within the hour. You should go see them about it.
Thank you, Mrs. Davis. I shall.
Okay.
I have some questions for you, Mrs. Davis.
All right.
Okay.
Mrs. Davis, have you ever had Linda visit you at the Harris Manor?
Oh, no, of course not.
Then would you care to explain your note to her in the Spectre Society guest book?
Please, Mr. Fordham, I didn't mean to lie to you. It's just that it gets so lonely by myself in the house at night. So every now and then, I invite Linda to come over for tea and some company.
I see. And when was the last time this happened?
2 nights ago. Please don't tell Mr. and Mrs. Harris, Mr. Fordham. If they found out what I was doing, they'd have me dismissed without a reference.
I won't, but I'd very much like to speak with Mrs. Walker. Do you have any idea where I can find her?
All I know is that she works as a seamstress at a shop in Lyon, but I don't know the name. I'm sorry, I can't be of any more help than that.
Okay. All right. But that'll be fine. Okay. So,
Thank you for your time, Mrs. Davis.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Okay, now we need to go to the residents and talk to them about the ransom notes and things like that they've received.
Oh, Mr. Fordham. Oh, thank God you're back.
What's going on?
Our butler just brought this in. He found it stuck to the gate outside.
Harris family, we have your son. If you ever want to see him again, you must stop building the new airship. We are not joking. Okay, so he's only using the information that Fordham gave him to try to get them to stop the airship. They don't really have the child, I don't believe. Okay.
I have some questions for you, Mr. Harris.
Yes, of course.
Okay.
What is your opinion of this ransom note?
It's obvious who sent it, Mr. Fordham. Why are you wasting your time here? Go arrest Mr. Devins!
Those are all the questions I had for now.
All right.
Okay, so let us go to the Harris Construction Yard. Right, y'all. We will speak with Devins.
Mr. Devins?
Yes?
Mr. Devins, what can you tell me about this note?
I've never seen that before in my life.
Are you sure about that?
Absolutely. It's as I told you. I had nothing to do with that boy's kidnapping. I didn't even know he existed until you told me. Remember?
Yeah. And that note conveniently showed up right after you had that conversation. Let him stew in his own lies. His unique way of spelling is all the evidence we need to tie him to the note.
Very well, Mr. Devins. Forget I asked.
Okay.
Do you practice voodoo, Mr. Devins?
What?
The chicken bones and dust you send along with your letters. It's a voodoo spell meant to cause bad luck in business. Quite a convenient solution, wouldn't you say?
I don't know what you're on about.
Come now, Mr. Devins. I'd appreciate it if you didn't think I was stupid.
All right, fine. I went to go see one of them magic women in Gascon. She told me about the spell and what I needed to do. I don't believe in the stuff, but I thought maybe if I used it, I could scare Harris enough to get him to stop making the new airship.
Well, I don't mean to be one to put a damper on your amateur witchcraft, but it doesn't seem to be doing you much good.
No, his grandson got kidnapped. That's not something I'd call lucky.
Good day to you, Mr. Devins.
You too, Mr. Fordham.
Okay.
This Arthur Devins joker is bad news.
He
Not
is.
only is he making threats to the Harris family, he also has the nerve to send a ransom note. We have enough evidence to pin the crime on him, I think. The police can deal with the headache of actually finding the baby.
I don't know. I'm not real.
Clyde Harris has no concern for the people who died aboard the...
Yeah, I'm not real sure about that, but let's go talk to Upton and see what she thinks at this time.
Best avoid that one. He looks like he might tip over at any moment. Reminds me of when I was alive. Ah, good times.
The election seems to be getting intense earlier than normal this time.
That's for sure. Leroy really wants to be prime minister.
What do you think of him?
I think he's like every other politician, full of lies and false promises. He claims to be a man of the people, but I'll believe it when I see him step into a factory like the rest of us.
That's a good point, actually.
Atwood ain't perfect by any means, but he's at least the devil we know.
They're cutting our wages. The foreman told us all yesterday.
No, that's terrible. Why?
Because they're spending the extra money bringing in steam-powered machines. They say it's only temporary, but a lot of the others are saying they're getting ready to replace us.
So what are you gonna do?
What can I do? I'm lucky enough to have this job. I'm not about to leave it. Just gonna have to find some other way of making ends meet.
Let me at least buy you a drink.
Thanks, but I can't. I'm working a double shift tomorrow. They need to be at my best.
Interesting. Okay. So, politics and business.
Go on, I'm listening.
Okay. So, let's review the case here.
Can we go over my current case?
Of course. What have you got?
I found this torn piece of fabric at the crime scene. It's got an emblem with some initials on it.
I recognize that emblem. It's from Salomon Stitching, a little tailor shop in Lyon. My ex-husband had several jackets from there.
Sorry to dredge up old memories, but do you remember where they're located?
I believe it's on the corner of Bonneville Street and Surratt Avenue.
Fantastic. You're helpful as always, Upton.
Right on. Let's ask her about the Spectre Society.
Have you ever heard of the Spectre Society?
I think so. They're some sort of ghost hunting club, aren't they?
A spiritualist group, yes.
Don't tell me this case has taken a turn for the supernatural.
Not exactly. It's just come up as a potential lead. I found this button at the crime scene. The child's nanny identified it as the eye of his stuffed bear.
Did you find the bear at the scene?
No, the kidnapper must have taken it as well.
Interesting.
Either the kidnapper is very compassionate, or it's someone who knew the child.
Right? I think that's good.
That's enough about the case for now.
Okay.
What's the other case you mentioned? The one you said was a higher priority.
Well, it seems we might have a mass murderer on our hands.
Oh, goodness.
You don't say.
That's right. I didn't say because I shouldn't say. But so far, we've had 3 murders with a very similar MO in the past 2 months. Snelling is trying his hardest to keep it under wraps since the newspapers already caught wind of the first 2.
I don't envy the department there. I'm happy to stick with the missing persons and domestic disputes.
Right on. Let's ask
How's
her.
work going?
Hectic as usual. Crime in this city seems to be getting worse and worse every day.
I suppose that's the price of progress.
God help us if they ever actually discover that ethericity stuff then. Things between you and Adelaide getting any better?
I'm really not sure. They haven't gotten worse, but things haven't been the same between us since Bill died.
Well, you need to figure things out, or everything is just going to explode in your face one of these days.
Right.
Thanks for the vote of confidence, Upton.
I'm merely speaking from experience. If I'd seen the warning signs of Harold sooner, it would have saved me quite the headache. At least your marriage seems like it's still worth saving.
Okay.
That's it, I think.
Then you'd better get back to it.
Okay, so there's political stuff going on. There's work stuff going on. Let's go to map here. And what do we got? We got Salomon Stitching in Lyon. Let's head over there. And we'll see if this guy knows anything about the...
Good day to you, sir. Welcome to Salomon Stitching. I'm Jonas Solomon. Please let me know if I can help you with anything.
Right on. What is this?
This guy has been in business forever.
Right. Okay.
Isaac Samuels, the prime minister who freed the slaves. They say even his enemies wept on the day he died. I sure hope I get to meet him someday.
Right on. Okay. Got the...
Quite the selection, but I doubt the typical clientele of this place buys off the rack. The design of that coat looks awfully familiar.
Right? So let's go speak with him then.
Mr. Solomon?
Yes, sir. How may I be of service? Oh, let me guess. You're looking to replace that old coat. It looks like it's got quite a few stories it could tell me.
You should listen to the man, Miles. He clearly knows what he's talking about.
Not today, I'm afraid. There's still a few more stories it has left to tell. Actually, I was wondering if I could ask you a few questions.
Questions? Very well, but if they aren't about tailoring, I don't know how much help I'll be.
Okay. Let's see.
Do you by chance employ a seamstress named Linda Walker?
I do, yes.
Is she here?
No, she has the day off today, but she'll be in tomorrow.
Would it be possible to have her address?
Begging your pardon, but why should I give it to you?
Private investigator is crucial to the case. She's my sister, and we've lost her son and my schoolmates. I have something to return. We'll try that one.
Her son, Alexander, and mine were schoolmates. I just found a book he lent my son, and I wanted to return it. I've been trying to track her down for ages, and only just found out where she worked.
Oh, I see. It was a terrible tragedy what happened with her boy and her husband. I know how private Mrs. Walker is, but I'm sure she would appreciate you returning her son's book. All right. She lives at 403 St. Agnes Street.
Remember when you couldn't even bring yourself to trick people into thinking their shoelaces were untied? You've come a long way, Miles.
Right? Now let's ask about this fabric, shall we?
I found this piece of torn fabric with your emblem on it. Can you tell me anything about it?
Yes. Brown, wool, houndstooth. This is from one of the more popular jackets I sell.
And here I thought my ability to name ales within 5 seconds of tasting them was good. This fella has me beat.
Do you have any of them in stock currently?
Well, sure. I've got one on the display dummy over there.
Is there any way you can tell me who you've sold them to?
Oh, I don't think so. I've sold at least 20 in the past month. As I said, it's a very popular style.
Right? Okay. Let's ask about
This is a nice shop you have. I never even knew it existed.
Well, better late than never, I always say. Life has a funny way of always taking us where we need to go in the end.
True. Although I think it's easy to miss out on things from time to time.
Oh, of course. It's easy to overlook the details, but in the grand scheme of things, you'll end up where you need to be. And in this case, you ended up here. So, please, feel free to take a look around. Let me know if you find anything you like.
Cool.
Is there anything you can tell me about this button?
Looks like it's made of wood, not very well crafted either. Definitely not from one of my products.
Cool. How did you get into this business, Mr. Salomon?
I was always good with a needle and thread. When I was a boy in Poland, I would help my mother with her sewing. Then, during the war with Russia, I fixed uniforms and stitched up wounds. Not long after that, I moved to Vespuccia, settled here in New Bretagne. My first shop was in the Chum, but thankfully I was very successful and was able to move to Lyon. I won't lie to you, this location is much, much nicer. It's refreshing to not have to step over drunken hobos when I open and close the shop.
Right.
Oh, but that's part of the charm of owning a business in the Chum.
Not much else to say beyond that. My business is my life.
You seem very dedicated to your craft.
That's right. You won't see any of that newfangled steam-powered nonsense in here. Everything is done by hand and with care. I use only the finest quality materials and stitch every thread myself. And that's the way it's going to stay as long as I'm around. It's worked for 45 years. There's no reason to change as far as I'm concerned.
I'll be taking my leave of you now, Mr. Salomon.
Very good.
Right on.
My grandmother had one like that. I think it was meant to be relaxing, but it always felt like my time was running out. Now that it has, well, it actually is relaxing. Go figure.
Right. Okay.
Come to think of it, I have seen plenty of people wearing that design. No tears in this one, though. That coat is so dull. I always prefer the ones with a bit more color.
Right on. Okay, so let's step back out here. Let's take a look at our map. We have, this is the Walker residence, and there's a question mark on it. So I'm thinking that we talk to her next Monday. So, if you like what you're watching, hit that like and subscribe button down below. Tell your family, tell your friends. If you have any suggestions, tips, tricks, no spoilers, put them in the comments below, because I will read them. And with that, I will catch you next Monday for another episode of Lamplight City. Peace. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more, check out the playlist above, or watch what YouTube tells you to on the right. Oh yeah, and subscribe.